Hey guys, it's Sam here again, and in this video I want to talk about the SAT, and I wanted to talk about like why I thought I did well and what I used to study it and like general advice I think would help like everyone who's going to take the SAT. But I also wanted to talk about this most recent August 2021 SAT and just give my general thoughts about it. I know most of you here aren't here like about a single SAT, but I'm going to post this on Reddit, so kind of wanted to talk about it. In really short, I thought the reading section was okay. A lot of people were saying how they thought like the science section with the comments was pretty hard, and also like just I think the biggest problem was just the time constraint. I was surprised to find myself having like a lot less time than I usually would have on practice, and I even saw one person who said they've been practicing for a year and like literally ran out of time with one more passage left to go, which is pretty sad, but it is what it is. So the reading was okay, but the grammar was really easy. There was a lot of good memes, but it was really easy. And then for the math section, I was surprised to find a unit circle question on there, but I literally guessed 7 because like I kind of measured the angle with my fingers, and I'm like, yeah, that looks like 105 degrees, so I put 7, and it was the right answer. So pretty interesting, and I found the math section to be easy overall, but I guess that was just me because most of you guys are saying it was pretty hard. But overall, the August SAT was really nice, and I feel really confident and glad that I did practice the way I did study. And just in general, with the tips I'm about to give you, you can probably feel good on any SAT no matter how hard or easy it is that the College Board ranks it on difficulty. So I've heard some of you talking about this curve that's going to happen on the August 2020. I don't know if this is confirmed, but you guys can pause the video and like take a look at it. I don't know where this sourced from, but it was spreading over Discord, and I just thought I'd share it because information is information. So with that, I'm just gonna get into how I study because I don't want this to be a too long of a video. It's really just like wisdom that I found over the past 2 years, and I just want to give it out to you guys on the internet. So like most of you, back in 10th grade, I studied using Khan Academy. So this is like my stats, I guess. I have a 3,000 practice questions that I've done. I think I started this in 10th grade, and I would remember waking up every morning and doing like a mini test, which is a mini test on Khan Academy is like 13 questions, and I'd be like, oh yeah, 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 reading, oh yeah, 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 grammar, and then I do like the practice test. So, 1390. I mean, yeah, sure, there are a couple of 1500s, but dude, that was just me guessing. Like, even after all this, I haven't touched Khan Academy SAT practice in like about a year, and honestly, this wasn't helping. Sure, I was getting practice, but I wasn't understanding anything. Like, I'd forget it like the next week. And like in general, while Khan Academy is a great resource to start with, at some point you realize that you're just like finishing the questions. Like like look at this. It says I have a good score on all of these things, but like look, I have like a full like quote unquote bar or scale or whatever. But like in all honesty, like I didn't really feel confident in most of these. So like another couple months went by and I wasn't really practicing for the SAT. And then I took an official SAT. I got 1340, and I was like, okay, I'm not happy with this. It's great, it's nice and all. I'm sure some of you would kill for a 1340, but I thought I could do better, and my parents thought so as well. So summer rolled around, summer of 2021, and I wanted to change up my strategy. So obviously, I went to the all reliable Reddit, and I asked people, what's the best stuff that you use to study? And this guy with the 1600s came and told me, this is a guy called Nelson Moo who writes College Panda books, and like he gives you strategies and like practice questions on like pretty much anything in the book. So I ordered the SAT math version of College Panda. Um, and actually here I ordered the SAT writing, which is this is just grammar, and then this SAT reading by Erica Meltzer. But we'll talk about that in a bit. Something great about the College Panda books is that it's legitimately funny and you feel excited reading it because like he drops a lot of jokes and it feels like kind of entertaining. You're literally studying for the SAT while like you're kind of enjoying yourself, which I found really nice. When I ordered the books, it came in a box and I looked on the back of this one and it told me if it's not in this book, it's not on the test. And I just felt like so inspired with that. So over the summer, I grinded these books, and generally it's so nice. It's not like regular, it's not like the official SAT practice books, because those books, what it is, it's just practice questions, and it's the exact same thing I found on Khan Academy. Like, it's not telling me how to do better. It's just giving me practice and like expecting me to do better just by learning off my mistakes. But personally, that's not how a way I learn well. Like, I wanted to get better fast, not get better through pain. So these books had legitimate strategies and like basic examples to complex examples that just made things click for me. And these are the best resources. This book by Erica Meltzer, SAT reading, it's a bit more similar to, oh, it's more of a mix. It has a lot more practice than the College Board does. I mean, College Panda does, but she also had like really like thought provoking ideas about the SAT reading section that really like changed my perspective on the reading section. And I can share a couple of them with you. And just generally, just reading this helped me a lot, like helped made me a lot more confident on the reading section. And I feel like no matter how hard a reading section is, there's a really systematic way that you can go about solving it. So let's just get into the part where I explain stuff. So, and also I did want to talk about like prep centers like KD. Down here in Texas, we have something called KD. Or I'm sure wherever you live, they have like SAT test vendor centers too. Usually they're super expensive. Like for us, it's like $3,000 a year. And a lot of the people I've asked who've gone to those centers are like, no, it's not helpful. It's terrible. Like either their parents made them go, or they thought it'd be good, but they just haven't like gotten themselves out because they were trying to convince themselves it was good. No, no, don't do that to yourself. Self study for the SAT is, in my opinion, the best way. Just if you have time over the summer, you should totally take advantage of that, because doing it during school, you have to find your own time. That's pretty difficult in general. So, okay, now let's talk about the strategies. So, first thing, you walk into the room, you have to be focused. Like, everything else has to leave your mind and do what you will to prepare. Like, make sure, like, like people tell you what to do to prepare. Make sure your mind is like calm as you enter the room, and as you're taking the test, no thoughts should be like disturbing you. It's the most exhausting thing I've ever done. 8:26 on a Saturday morning, but you just have to focus. Like nothing else you should be thinking about, nothing you should be worried about. Heck, August 28th was my sister's birthday, but like I had to be like just thinking about nothing else other than the SAT. So that's the first thing, because trick questions are all over the SAT, and you just have to be aware of it and read everything. But I'll get to the reading section in a bit. For the math, something that you have to know is that the SAT is standardized. So there's like no subjectivity going on. And this actually goes for the reading section too. You could argue for something in the reading section like, oh, but both these answer choices make sense. But the thing is, if two answer choices make sense, the people who made the test like are to be questioned. Like their jobs are on the line. Because with this test being standardized, any student who takes the test has to have the ability to find the answer on the test itself. And anything that's like, don't even think about like what's the best answer. No, 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 no. You have to look back at the passage and be like, or like in the question in general, like the math question, be like, there can only be one answer to this, whether it's multiple choice or it's like a free response on the math. There can only be one thing, and that's what you have to look for. And any choice can be like falsified by a single word. And like even if you think that a math question could be easy, it might be asking for like another part of it that could throw you off. That's why focus is so important. So that's the first thing. The second thing about the math section is that you have to learn the strategies to be able to finish on time. So here's a little story. So the fifth, everyone knows about the section 5. It's a section on the SAT where they make you stay another 20 minutes to collect data on like students, I guess. So I was like, no, this doesn't count for the SAT. So I just sat there drawing people on my test. And then the proctor called 5 minutes, and I'm like, oh shoot. I felt kind of guilty, So okay, I'll just do the section. So 5 minutes left. I finished it, and I started laughing in my head, because I'm like, oh man, this was so easy. Like, and the reason I found it easy is because if you see people who can finish the SAT section in the Zoom, It's not because they might be good at math, like, because honestly, I'm not trying to major in math or anything. It's because the way the SAT people design the questions is to be able for you to find shortcuts, and those shortcuts are easily available once you see them. But if you can't see them, it's like it seems difficult, and you have to do everything by hand or like whatever. The best way to find these shortcuts, these books. I'm telling you, these books, like these secrets to SAT, you're not gonna find them on like the official practice. You're not gonna find them on Khan Academy by practicing, trying to figure it out yourself. It's like the Rubik's cube. No like sub 10 seconds cube solver probably solved the Rubik's cube yourself. They all went on Google and looked it up how to solve it, and then did the practice from there. That's what SAT practice should be. You shouldn't be trying to reinvent the wheel, bro. Like the strategies are all there, like in these books. Like sure you have to pay for them, or sure you have to ask someone for it, but it's there. Don't try to like figure it out yourself. You're not alone. Like for me, like when I got that 1340, I was just doing practice tests and I thought I was good enough. No, dude, like you don't understand. Like these like tips, these are so good. Like these, it's like getting the vaccine. It's so good, bro. It's so good. So like the math, just learn the strategies, and then you can do a couple of practice questions, but stop once you realize that every question has a certain thing to it to solve it. Okay, let's move on to the reading section. My first tip on the reading section is to enjoy the passage. This can be difficult, especially for stuff like the history, but I'm telling you, if you're not attentive to the passage, there's so many things you can miss, and like you need to be able to have a whole understanding of the passage to legitimately like be able to like answer questions like how the topic changes inside the passage or whatnot, because there are a lot of questions that ask about the passage as a whole. So okay, what's the best way to enjoy the passage and keep your mind at ease? I I used to say this to people like don't look at the questions before, but now I think it's really nice. So what okay, you open the reading section, okay? You see the text, you're like, okay, sure, it's a history passage, it's a science passage. You skip to the questions and you just zoom through it really fast. Two things you look for. First thing you look for is questions about another way to say the word. It's like, oh, in line 76, what's the meaning of brown? What's the meaning of brown in this context? And you're like, okay, you don't need to know anything about the passage to answer that question. So you're like, okay, just do it. So you solve that question, you move on. You look at the rest of the questions, you see this. You see which which line would best answer the question behind it. Okay? What you do, you take the pencil and you like draw a circle around those two questions. So when you after you read the passage and you see that, you know what to do. Okay. You read the passage, you do the questions, and you come back to the two questions you circled about the quotations, because these grouped passage questions are really hard. What you do, the first thing, you read what it's asking, right, in the first question, but you don't answer the question. After you know what it's asking, you go to the second question, and then you read all of the quotes that's like it's referencing to. So you read all the references, and then from reading those, you answer the question, the first question, because you would have like figured out, you would have known more about the passage at that point. Once you like figured out the quote in which the question is answering, you go back to the first question and then you answer that. See, this strategy is so nice because when you're answering the first question first, you sometimes you don't really know what you're looking for. To be honest, it can be kind of tough, and like if your brain is unless your brain is like super familiar to with what's going on in the passage, it can be really difficult. And like I'm not gonna lie, even if you're really good at that, you want an easier way for your brain to adapt, easier way to digest all of this information, right? So this strategy is so good, and I found it like Anna's Universe video. It's a great reading video. You should check that out after this. I'll link it in the description. um so with that, like writing on the questions, like completely crossing out answers that you know are wrong, like doing grouped questions like that'll make your reading section so much more like manageable, and just like enjoying the passage, like figuring it out. Like you don't have to know everything about the passage, because like who knows, like it might not even be tested on. Like you don't understand like why O2 is being released into the atmosphere. Like okay, just unless the question asks about it, you don't have to like reread the passage over and over and over and over again, because you could get panicked. and you want to avoid that at all costs. So in general, with the math and reading sections, like once you figure out there's a structure to the SAT, and that you have to be comfortable with breaking procedure, like doing things that you wouldn't normally do in a practice test, but still remaining like keep being familiar with your time and like managing all this, it's actually not a lot. And after doing like like I didn't even take that many practice tests. I only took like 2 practice tests. But in the practice test, I got a 1570 and I got a 1530. So like we'll see what I get. I'm hoping for a 13. No, sorry, not a 1300 again. I'm hoping for a 1540 plus. But like the way that I studied and just this new outlook on the SAT, it's completely changed my mind, and I felt so happy like under the mask. Like I was smiling under the mask after I finished SAT because I was like, I understood everything. It felt so good because I don't remember having that feeling of understanding everything back when I took it in March when I got a 1340. And obviously it showed in my score. So with this, guys, here's the thing. If you're like a sophomore watching this video, like, and you think you have time, just okay. To admittedly, yes, you do have time, but this summer, get cracking. Like, you don't have to do anything now. Like, focus on school. Like, sophomore year is kind of important. So, I understand if you don't want to do anything, but like PSAT, like start like order this college board book, like College Panda books, and like just start looking through them because they're so good, dude. Like, yo, these SAT strategies that these people have already figured out, and all you have to do is just know about them. Like, you're set, bro. Like SAT in general is like pretty important for college applications, but not everything, obviously. Just like everything on college applications, to be honest. But like, if you want to feel satisfied, at least like if you want to feel comfortable of where you are at like in your college applications, you want to get a good SAT score and you're feeling stressed about it, because I know I felt stressed about the SAT. Like I was staying up till 3 just looking at like 2 problems. The best thing to do is just keep on the test, keep moving. When you're at home, keep moving. Don't put everything off, because if the more you put it off, the more it's going to be on your mind and the more it's going to weigh you down. So take action and just like yeah, get the books, or like it doesn't really matter. Like you should do your own research. Obviously, this is just a really good recommendation, and just be at peace, because that's like at the end of the day, like you should be at peace with what you've done. Because I think that's worst. Because like knowing that you've like haven't done your best, and then submitting things, that's like I don't want to feel that way. So with that, guys, good luck on your future SATs. Like good luck on your August SAT score. I have my fingers crossed, and I'll see you guys around. Bye, guys.